Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to, what is this, episode 6 of Jay Kramer. Today we have a special guest. Brian from the Chicken Bucket Boys has joined us. Brian, welcome to Jay Kramer.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
How are we doing today, fellas?
Up great.
Fantastic.
I think every Yankee fan woke up today feeling maybe a little tired. I know Brian went to bed a little early, but definitely excited.
Oh, yeah. It's a good feeling. It's good to be back in the wins because we haven't really had a lot to celebrate this year. So, to move on to the next round, it's just such a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Growing up better.
Yeah, we're gonna recap the playoffs, the Wild Card Series so far. Brendan, what's been your thoughts so far on watching not just the Yankees series, but just all the series so far?
Well, the first series I kind of want to talk about is the Reds and Braves just ended today. And the funny thing about it is we both know, I don't know if we mentioned it last week, Jalen. I don't know when the quote came out, but Joey Votto says, it was something like, we're a fucking nightmare to other teams. Let's just take a look at how many runs the Reds have scored this postseason. 0.
Do I need to get my calculator, or are we good? Are we okay?
0. They have not scored a single run. I mean,
they did not score because they're done now. So
yeah, they're done. They what the fuck? I mean, I'll admit I was a little bit on that Reds hype train. But
I think we all were.
What the fuck happened?
Well, I think, to be fair, they were a nightmare. Like those three guys at the top of the rotation. You go Bauer 1, Castillo 2, and then Sonny Gray, who's been really good since he's gone to Cincinnati. I wouldn't want to face them either. And I think Soroka's out for the Braves. So I thought the Reds were going to win that series. I thought they were going to sweep it, honestly. And they had every opportunity to. They had plenty of opportunities to score in that first game. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if it was like the shadows. It was an early game at a weird time, but they had opportunities to win, and their pitching definitely held up. I think both games were like 1-0 in the late innings, and the Braves just tacked on to end the game today. But yeah, man, that definitely shocked me a little bit in that series.
Yeah,
it comes down to it doesn't matter how good your starting pitching is if you can't score any runs. You can't win a ball game that way.
I'm trying to get their runners in scoring position stats. I might.
I'll tell you right now, Brendan. It was a lot, and then how many scored? None of them.
Yeah. So now let's actually go into another series. The Twins have the Twins just can't win. The Twins can't win a playoff game.
It's another team that just can't score. What was going on? Is there something with the early games that like is there shadows? Is there something like they didn't get enough sleep? I don't know what it is, but the Twins, another team that they had plenty of opportunities to beat the Astros and just like choked it away. And I know we don't want to see the Astros winning. I don't think anyone in baseball does. But I kind of partly want them. If the Yankees advance to the ALCS, I want the Astros. But let's not look too far in advance. Let's not do that.
Well, honestly, I think I want the Astros to get knocked out as soon as possible just for karma's sake.
Sure.
But I wouldn't mind facing them and beating them. Plus, that's just – but, yeah, like you said, it was another series of low-scoring games. Like, the Twins just couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, at all.
It just shows how much the regular season, no matter how many runs you score, does not mean shit. Fresh start once the postseason starts. And
what do you guys think it is with the Twins? Because, like, what are they? They've lost the last 18 postseason games in a row. Like, how is that a thing? It's not the same team for the last 18 games. Like, how is it just they're incapable of winning in the postseason?
I think after a certain amount of games, maybe like a few series after they lose a couple series in a row, and then it gets like 3 series they've lost in a row, then 4. I think everybody who suits up in a Twins uniform just starts thinking in the back of their head, like, here we go again. And like even when we played them last year in the playoffs, and they did that whole like Rocco Baldelli saying like we're coming for you, like all that bullshit. And we win game 1. They punched us in the mouth. They started off, they were winning 2-0, 2 solo home runs. I think it was Polanco, Nelson Cruz. And then we struck back, and they just folded the rest of the series. Like, they showed no fight the rest of that series. After that, after game one, you could kiss that series goodbye. You knew right away, and you could tell in the back of their heads, like, here we go again. And we kind of thought it was like the Yankees curse against the Twins. But, man, it's just – they just suck in the playoffs. I don't know what it is.
And before we move on to our next topic, we got one more thing to talk about. Our new – we have one ALDS matchup, or a couple already, but we got what we wanted, or at least what I wanted, the Yankees versus the Rays. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, who's to say? Honestly, the Yankees have looked really good. The last couple of games, it's really good to see them fighting. You know, throughout the regular season, one of the things we criticized them for was anytime they lost a lead, it felt like the game was over. There was no fight in this team. There was no chance of them coming back. But as we saw yesterday, I mean, they came back from 4-0. They came back a couple more times. Like, it's really good to see that they're grinding and just not giving up on the game. It's also really good to see the at-bats that guys have been having, especially Stanton's had some really good at-bats. Gleyber Torres has had some really good at-bats. So to see those guys, even if they're not getting a home run every time they're up, at least they're, making the pitcher work for it, and they're seeing the ball really well. So, I mean, I got to side with my Yankees on this one. I'm excited. And after seeing Garrett Cole pitch the other day, he's worth the money. He's just so good. What do you guys think?
I have 4 words for this series, and I think these 4 words I think it's 4. Yeah, 4 words. These 4 words are going to sum up why the Yankees are going to win this series, and those 4 words are not in the Trop. That's the reason to win the series. I'm telling you right now, if this was a regular year and the Rays were the 1 seed, and the Yankees had to go into Tropicana Field for the first 2 games of a 5-game set. This year, when the Yankees are 2-8 against the Rays, I would not be nearly as confident. However, being that it's in San Diego in a hitter's park, righty friendly especially, really friendly to everyone, but righty friendly especially, neutral site, and the Yankees have extreme momentum. The Rays they swept their series, but that's what, like, everyone expected them to beat the Blue Jays handily. The Blue Jays are a nice little story, and they showed a little bit of fight in their games, but everyone expected the Rays to take care of business, and they did. So that sweep didn't give them momentum going into the next series. It was basically just like a little warm up. The Yankees, however, were counted out by countless people, including 2 former Yankees themselves, in Curtis Granderson and Mark Teixeira, and a lot of baseball writers, gave the edge to Bieber, and rightfully so. Bieber's been a monster all year. Carlos Carrasco's had a really solid year, and the Indians are hot right now, or were hot at the end of the regular season. So going into that series in Cleveland, I understood why people take Cleveland. But the way the Yankees played, like Brian talked about, it showed a lot. I'm really excited for this series, and the fact that it's not in Tropicana Field and it's in beautiful sunny San Diego warms my little heart.
Jalen said it perfectly. I mean, I'm just excited. It sucks we got to wait till Monday. But
yeah,
for some people who don't know, Brian is actually the co-host of a great podcast on Unhinged called Tuesday Morning Quarterback. And all of us here I'm a Giants fan, Jalen's a Giants fan, I think Anna Jets fan, and Brian is a Jets fan. So we're just going to go ahead and talk about the great state that is New York football, not the Buffalo Bills. They're excused. But let's just talk about the good old Giants and Jets. So Brian, I'm just going to let you I'm going to let you start. You don't have to be filtered. Just let loose. Let's hear your opinions on the Jets.
It's pretty simple. They just have to fire Adam Gase. I mean, he's horrible. He's horrible in every measurable statistic. I think they're 32nd in the league in like every offensive category except for rushing, which I think they're 28th. So I mean, it's just terrible. It's I don't know if you guys have watched any Jets games this year, but this guy's, first of all, he's supposed to be this brilliant offensive mind, scheming up all these different things and figuring out ways to work against defenses. Every freaking drive is run up the middle, screen pass. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. 3 and out every fucking drive, and I'm sick of it. And you know what the worst part is? The Jets drafted an amazing quarterback in Sam Darnold. He was like it was the consensus that he was the best quarterback in the draft, the most talent, really young, like moldable, exactly what you're looking for in a quarterback. And they managed to screw it up because they hired the wrong fucking coach. Okay, now he's in year 3. He's struggling immensely. You still see flashes of brilliance. Like, he has so much talent, but the play calling is just horrific. They can't get anything done. He has no one around him, no wide receivers, a terrible offensive line. And it's just, I'm just getting so angry. Like, I see it on the timeline all the time. People like talking shit about Sam Darnold. And it's like, how can you possibly blame this guy? Like, he has nothing around him, nothing going for him. And yet he still manages to like have a decent play every now and then. So that's where I am with the Jets right now. They can go fuck themselves until they get a new head coach. And then, we'll see what happens after that. But I mean, that organization is probably the worst run organization in sports. It's definitely top 3. I mean, the Knicks are up there as well. And the Mets up until now. But the Jets are just definitely the worst franchise in football. And I think that's really all there is to say about it.
Well,
I mean, you said it perfectly.
Yeah, we were hoping to get a Brian rant on the Jets. So
you got it.
This
is why you had me on, right? You just wanted. That's what you wanted. Oh, you got it. You're welcome.
But yeah, no, I think what's interesting though is like both New York football teams are having very similar issues. They have very similar problems, and they have what they perceive to be their franchise quarterback, and have just completely failed that guy. It happened a little differently. Obviously, the Giants had Eli, and they've made a slow transition off of him. The Jets have been searching for their guy for a while. There wasn't really a guy that Sam Darnold took the reins over for, unless you want to count like Josh McCown or Ryan Fitzpatrick, and many failed stopgap quarterbacks. But yeah, then you have another parallel is like the star player that realized how terrible things were going in the organization, wanted out. Odell Beckham got traded from the Giants. Then you have Jamal Adams forcing his way out of Florham Park. So I see a lot of parallels. The Jets overpaid for Le'Veon Bell, brought in a guy when they had no offensive line. And I understand why you want to try to maybe add an explosive guy. He's very dynamic, one of the best running backs in the league before they signed him. But what did you expect when you don't have for a good running game, and you bring in a guy who was running behind one of the best offensive lines in football? I don't know, what did they expect him to just become a 2,000-yard rusher again? Like, that's not how football works. And the Giants kind of made a similar mistake with Saquon Barkley, where I love Saquon. He's one of my favorite players in football. But man, this guy has nowhere to run. And
it's Dave Gettleman's fault. It's all Dave Gettleman's fault.
Like, if you're going to draft a running back second overall, he should be like the final piece, or like one of them at least. And I get he's a generational talent, but you didn't, at the time when you drafted Saquon Barkley second overall, you didn't have a quarterback. You didn't have an offensive line. Your defense had at least like 6 holes. It's just, I just don't understand it. The New York football teams are just so like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how would you even – everyone know what to do except for you.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, like, I didn't hate the Jets for bringing in Le'Veon Bell. I think they kind of needed it because they had literally nobody on the team at the point. But they don't use him properly. I mean, like I said, they run up the middle constantly with no offensive line. That's not how you get your running back yards. There was one play, I think it was in week 2, where they sent him out wide as a wide receiver. He went downfield and had like a 30-yard catch. And they haven't done that since. So I don't know what, like, it's right there in front of you. The guy is so good at everything. Just fucking use him, but they don't use him properly. So
yeah,
I mean, that's how I feel about that.
When they opened up at home against Buffalo last year, you saw the potential, and even like that offense was not very good last year either, obviously. But they showed why they brought in Le'Veon Bell in that first game last year against the Bills. Catching 2-point conversion. He had a touchdown.
Right.
He showed some flashes. He's fighting off tackles and bursting through some holes that you can't see on TV. And then the rest of the season, it was just like they forgot why he almost helped them win that game against a talented Buffalo team. And the same thing happened. Same thing happened in week 1 here. And then he gets injured, and now everything's just a train wreck. But I'm glad we got your perspective.
Oh yeah, it was week 1. That's right. He got hurt.
Fire Dave Gettleman. I'll just get some final thoughts. Dave Gettleman is the worst GM I have ever seen, and I thought we couldn't get worse from Jerry Reese. The guy comes in.
No. Mike McCagnon is so much worse than Dave Gettleman. At least Dave Gettleman has gotten some picks right. But Mike McCagnon, for those of you who don't know, was the Jets GM before Joe Douglas. He was just horrific. I don't think there's only, I think, 2 draft picks that he had over the course of 4 or 5 years that are still on the Jets, and that's Sam Darnold and Marcus May. Other than that, they're all gone. Most of them are out of the league. So, like, don't get me started on GMs. But you're right. The Giants have the opposite problem of the Jets right now. It seems like they found their coach, but their GM is a nightmare. And the Jets coach is just the worst in the world. But their GM seems to be pretty good.
I mean,
so
with the Giants, we've been saying our offensive line has been a problem for like 5-6 years. I mean, and with Daniel Jones, there are times he'll show he can be a good quarterback. You don't need a top 5 quarterback to win a Super Bowl. We saw that with Eli. But he needs weapons, and I truly believe that to get going for the Giants, if they get a top 3 pick, you got to get Chase from LSU, or honestly, if they somehow get the first pick, then you trade that pick away. Because I don't know if you'll.
They're not going to beat the Jets out. Trust me.
That's right. I disagree. I don't think the Giants need a wide receiver. I think the Giants need a lot of things before that. First of all, their defense, and this will be just my final thoughts on this before we wrap up. If the Giants get in the top 3 picks, they need to trade that pick because you need an edge rusher at least. You need 1 edge rusher at least. You need cornerbacks. You need linebackers that can cover.
Michael Parsons.
I don't like Evan Ingram at tight end. I think you need a real tight end. I'm not saying you get all of that through the draft, but that's why you trade the pick. You need a right tackle. Hopefully Matt Parrott, however you say it, can step up. He's shown some promise. I think they like him. He's a rookie, so we don't know what he has to offer yet. But you need a right tackle because Cam Fleming is disgustingly horrible. And even like Will Hernandez is not good anymore. Like I know he had a good rookie year, but the offensive line is struggling. Andrew Thomas, I think, is going to be a good left tackle for a long time, but the rest of it is like Kevin Zeitler is the other good guy, but there's a lot of holes. And if you get a top 3 pick, I don't think you can waste that on a wide receiver because you have so many other things that you need to worry about. I know Jamar Chase is supposed to be really good, but I think you got to trade that pick.
I mean, I'm just waiting for Aaron Donald. Right before we wrap it up, Aaron Donald, he's going to have at least 3 sacks and 13 QB hits this weekend, so just expect that.
Take the Rams on your fantasy team.
Oh, I picked that defense up, and I'm starting them against the Giants.
Aaron Donald's going to eat a Giants jersey by the end of the game.
He might eat Daniel Jones.
Probably.
But yeah, that's all we have for you guys this week. Brian, thank you for joining us. We hope to do a crossover with Chicken Bucket Boys soon.
Yes. Let's do it.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a good week.